cord to the icon. Okay, perfect. So what's going on right here? Just before we even start, I want you to understand something, because in our lives as Jews, we have to look at something very important. Are we stuck or are we positioned? Now think what the difference between the two. That's not a simple sentence. Are we stuck or are we positioned? What's the difference? What's the difference between what I'm saying? Stuck, positioned. What does that mean?
Are we positioned like God put us?
Yeah, I think we need some hands up. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, Jen is new. Let Jen say something. Go ahead, Jen. What does it mean?
I was just going to say positioned is where Hashem puts us, maybe.
Yes. And what's stuck?
Maybe stuck is just the wrong way to look at it.
Exactly. Excellent. Okay, excellent. Really excellent. Really excellent. Because that's the struggle that we have in life. And that's why it's very hard for us to understand, like, why would Hashem make you make brachas, like, even when times are not good? Baruch Dayan Emes, when people die, when things are not good, you hear very bad news. And like, someone says so-and-so died, and you go, oh, your reality is Baruch Dayan Emes. It's not, oh my gosh, we're all stuck. You know what I mean? So where do we first see this whole idea? It's very interesting, is by the Akedah, when Abraham was asked to bring his son Yitzchak up as a sacrifice, right? And then Hashem says, no, it wasn't that I really wanted you, Chas v'shalom, to sacrifice your son. I wanted you to sacrifice your brainchild. I wanted you to sacrifice this concept that you would have to understand everything before we're able to do it. What we sacrificed at that Akedah was this idea that, you know what, Hashem, even when we don't understand what you say, we're still going to do it, even when we don't understand what's happening. So Abraham really badly wants to still give a sacrifice. He really wants to bring something to Hashem, no matter what. So they say there was this ram that was stuck in the bushes. And then the rabbis tell us that this ram and this concept of his horns becoming a shofar, and that's going to be the shofar that blows when Mashiach comes, was created since the time of Bereshit, since the time of the beginning of time, right? So we have to really understand that we're always positioned. We're never stuck. And therefore, the Torah tells you a very interesting idea. It says, Ezahu Chacham, who is a wise person? So we've had a lot of debate on that, a lot of beautiful answers. Who's a wise person? Someone who learns from someone else. Who's a wise person? Someone who sees the consequences of their action. And who's a wise person? Someone who recognizes their position. Okay, so that's on many fronts. Like when you're a parent and a child, and the child's really chutzpahdik, and you go, you don't know your place, right? So there is this concept, right? You know your place, like know who the real father of all fathers, the creator of the world is. We have to know our position relative to Hashem. And then it's like what Jen said, we have to know that wherever position we're in, Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu, blessed is Hashem, blessed is the place. His name, another name for Hashem is literally Makom, is place. That's what you say, HaMakom Yinachem Eschem. What does that mean? The place, Hashem himself, in this sad place that you're in, that feels like an empty place, Hashem will fill that place. He should fill it with comfort for you, Hashem himself. So it's just an interesting idea. So this is what it means when you're making a bracha, know your place, right? So when you go to Niagara, you make a bracha, you know that? Right? That Hashem created, like, you look it up for a minute. It's the bracha that you make, the same one when it's Oseh Maaseh Bereshis. Okay, I think that's what it is. But that's what I'm saying. So in other words, you know your place. When you hear thunder, who heard the thunder yesterday? Whoa! Did you jump? I jumped. Okay, I literally
today too.
And today, I must have missed it today. I don't know where I was, but yesterday I went, whoa, okay, right? So shekocho ugroso molei olam. You know your place. Kocho, his power and his might, it fills the world. And they actually say that Hashem brings thunder for this reason, to shake you up. It is a reminder. It is a reminder. Because everything that goes on out there after a while wears off. Like, you know what I mean? I feel badly, like Hashem should help all the people in Miami still. But it's not that, it's never the same impact 5 days later. It's just not. Do you know what I mean? And people, unfortunately, you forget about it. Like, and you need that jolt again. But when these, when thunder comes, right? So you know your place. Suddenly you hear this thunderous noise and you see the lightning, you see, wow, there's something so much bigger than us out there, right? So with all the brachas that we're gonna learn today, they're all putting your head into a mindset that I would call positioning. And the point of the bracha is to position you to recognize that there is a God in the world, that he wants a relationship with you, that he's doing things and giving things that are specifically for all of us, and that there has to be an understanding of gratitude when it comes to making a bracha, right? There has to be an understanding of gratitude or appreciation of why you are in the situation that you are in. And therefore, what do I do knowing that, okay? So when you're positioned, and it isn't so simple, and it isn't so easy, and it's kind of tight, and it can be frustrating. It doesn't have to always be big, horrible things. Like I had to go to a, you have like a schedule, then you go to Home Depot and you're trying to find something. Like that happened to me today in the plumbing section, okay? And like the plumber sends you with this piece you have to go buy. You know absolutely nothing about it. So you drive up, okay, no problem, because everybody at Home Depot knows their stuff, right? So you get in there and you're in the plumbing section, nobody's there. Then you go to customer service, they go, okay, don't worry, we'll call Bob. They call over the thing, and you're sitting there for 15 minutes, nobody shows up. You go back, you say nobody showed up. Okay, don't worry, we'll call again. Sit for another 15 minutes, right? And then finally go over to somebody, say, like, I don't understand. They're like, oh, Bob? Oh, he's on break. So I said, but what happens, like, if somebody has a plumbing problem exactly on his break? I don't know. Okay. I'm like, no. Okay. Like all these like silly, frustrating things. I'm sitting there thinking, like, Hashem, what do you want from me? Okay. So in the morning, I taught 6 constant mitzvahs. So I said, okay, Ein od milvado. Like I'm trying to think all these lofty thoughts. And meanwhile, I'm going, I just want to go home with my plumbing problems. So, all right, then finally, you know what I'm saying? And then finally someone comes by, and Baruch Hashem, it took an hour to do what should have probably been 5 minutes, right? If somebody would have been there. It doesn't matter. So I have to stop and say, was I really stuck? Was I stuck? Or was I positioned? Oh, I was positioned. The Vilna Gaon says I was positioned. And he says you were positioned to work on your midos. And he said that is the real purpose of every person, right? But you get tired. You get very tired. So that is why the last bracha of the 15 brachas that we are going to learn says, I'm just skipping to this one for a minute. It says, Hanosein la yoef koach, that Hashem gives energy to the tired. So the Vilna Gaon says, this is a big message to us. It really should be, we don't want to be tired, okay? Like, it shouldn't be that you give energy to the tired, just don't make us tired, okay? Don't make us tired, that's all. So the Vilna Gaon says, no, we're gonna always be tired. Why? What does tired mean? You are tired because you
think that you're doing things on your own.
Okay. But what? You were doing things. You've been struggling through life. You are doing. So Hashem is saying you're always going to have to be doing. What Jody said is smart. You'll be less tired if you realize you're doing it with Hashem. Okay, you'll be less tired and Hashem will help you. But you need to be doing. Okay, that's what this is. This is the world of Asiya. So, you don't want to go to a Home Depot and not be able to get exactly what you wanted in 5 minutes, and have everybody there ready to give you what you want, right? You don't want to have to struggle with it. But Hashem says, no, you're going to have to struggle with it because you have to work on your midos. You have to appreciate where you've been positioned. You are never stuck. You're only positioned. I'm going to tell you like the greatness. I heard the story from Dr. Pelkovic, a lot of these ideas. And he said that they found in the Kovno ghetto, and I think that's the ghetto that Mrs. Hochman always refers to. So the Kovno ghetto, okay, they found in it, the person was killed, not passed away. They were all killed. We're not going to say they passed away. They were killed. They found a piece of paper in someone's pocket. It was a bracha that they wrote The bracha was Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu la'achol chametz, because it was Pesach and they had to eat chametz. And then on top of it, they wrote, like sometimes before you make a bracha, you say the kavanah, like, Hareini, right now I am going to do this mitzvah, blah, 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 blah. So they wrote, right now we are going to do the mitzvah of shmarta ma'odis nafshechem, of taking care of our bodies and trying to live. And underneath, they wrote that bracha. Thank you, Hashem, for commanding us to eat the chametz, right? On Pesach, because we have to eat the chametz in order for us to live. So that's a person who is always positioned. You're like, do you see what's going on here? Like we're really dying of starvation, right? All we want to do is the mitzvah of Pesach. But if we can't do the mitzvah of Pesach, we're not stuck. We're going to eat that chametz and we're going to still be close to you. And we're going to do that for another reason, the reason that we have to save our own lives. It's an unbelievable story. Like, imagine being able to have that kind of mindset. Do you know what I mean? Like every moment, you know why you're here, no matter what the circumstances are. So they did a study with people who work in a hotel, room service, people who do the room service in your hotel, all right? So divided two groups, right? So they told half the group that their job is extremely important. They're doing this really important study on well-being. And they told them like what the calorie count and how much they burn and, how every activity is so amazing. Like when you're pushing the vacuum cleaner and it's kind of an aerobic activity, it works on your heart. And, and when you're making the bed, it really has a lot of purpose because your arms are going up and down and your muscles are building. And, this is all good for your well-being. And the other part, we were doing the exact same work. Everyone's doing the exact same work. The other part didn't say anything. Said, okay, this is your job, ladies, and good luck. And, we're just here in the hotel. We're just looking around and we're just, doing a study. And they didn't give them any more meaning into their job. Okay. So they come back like half a year later. The women who thought that they were doing something so incredibly meaningful, what do you think their attitude was?
Positive attitude, maybe.
Yes, they were so much happier, so much more joyful. Okay, Jen, they actually lost weight. Okay, they said that they couldn't understand it, but that they lost weight. Okay, so that group, they felt that they had purpose. It was all good. It was about lifestyle and well-being. They were amazing. The other group that nobody said anything that they did was very meaningful. They weren't really part of anything, just doing their job, right? Doing the exact same thing.
They had the enthusiasm.
Yeah, no enthusiasm, no job satisfaction. So this is the gift that we get. So you're going to be making brachas, and I'm going to show you these 15 brachas. They're very mundane. Okay, you're just saying, thank Hashem for clothes. We're going to go through them. Thanks for shoes. Thanks for letting me able to stand up. They're not I wouldn't say they're, you know what I mean? And they're things that you do every single day. It's really phenomenal when you think about it. Hashem is trying to show you that you have so much purpose that even in the most mundane of activity, you could have so much enthusiasm because it's your ticket to ride. It's your ticket to ride in this world. It's your ticket to ride in the next world. It's just purpose, full of purpose. And I think that that's it's eye-opening. Do you know what I mean? And if we concentrate on it, the only reason why we don't feel it is because we don't think about it. That's all. If you stopped, exactly the same thing with those ladies. They had what to think about. They were thinking about it. Now, when they push the vacuum cleaner, believe me, they pushed it with, you know what I mean? Because they're real, it's 500 calories I'm burning, right? They're going to push it in a whole different reality. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think it's just very important for us to understand. Okay, so when we're looking at brachas, it's the position that we're in. We're never stuck. The bracha that we have to say, Baruch Dayan Emes, we have to say Tova, Meiti, the good and the bad, it's all in the position. It's all in the perspective. We're all knowing that whatever this is, it's a moment to be closer to Hashem. That's what it is. It's a moment of gratitude. It's a moment of understanding. Sometimes it's a moment to flex muscle, right? Sometimes it's a moment to flex muscle. Whatever it is that incredible, precious moment, okay? They also did a study, which I thought was very cool, that shows you the power of a group. You know, like when we're learning as a group, when we're davening as a group, when we put ourselves, because if you ever look at the brachas, all these brachas are usually said in the plural. It's only once that you'll see this bracha that you're going to say it as an individual, because there's much more strength psychologically in a group. So they said if a person is standing at the bottom of a hill, this is my little hill, okay, we're standing at the bottom of the hill and you're looking up, they're going to tell you it is so steep. But when they're standing even next to one other person, they don't feel like it's as steep. And if they're both starting to climb up, each person fuels the other person without even having to say anything. Just having another person there with you doing something is already a different perspective, right? And it's a different collective effort. So it's just so nice. So let's go to the bracha that we are on, and let's really think about this one because it's a very important one. Okay, so the last one we did was Pokeach Ivrim, which was opening the eyes of the blind, and we said with every bracha, the Anshe Knesset HaGedola put 1,000 different kavanas, 1,000 different ideas into every single bracha. Like it isn't a simple what you see is what you get. It's more than that, okay? It's more than that, because each and every one of us is like, my eyes were opened. Yeah, you know what? I was so upset about this thing and my eyes were opened. And somebody could have had an eye operation. Oh, thank you, Hashem, my eyes were opened. 100 different ways to look at it. So this bracha is a very interesting one. We're thanking Hashem, Malbish Arumim, that he clothed the naked. Okay, so what is so important about that? What does that mean? Why are you grateful you have clothes? Like, stop and think about it. Okay, so you can tell me a deeper level, a simpler level. What does it mean to you? What do clothes mean to you?
To cover up the naked.
Okay, so you mean literally to cover up the naked.
Yeah.
It would be very embarrassing unless you're like one of these people who are, in those colonies. But most people do not want to be walking around naked. When was the very first time that the naked are covered in the Torah?
Adam and Eve.
Adam and
Yes.
Eve.
Oh, I'm so proud of everybody.
After
Adam and Eve. That is considered the very first mitzvah that ever happened. Okay, that's the chesed of Hashem. What happened? Body and soul before you ate from the Eitz Hadas, right? Before you ate from the Eitz Hadas, body and soul was a much more defined reality. Okay, it wasn't a big mishmash. Really, the soul was a very powerful force and the body was going to come along with it. And they walked around naked because there really wasn't this body, there wasn't that big lustful desire, okay? After they ate from it, right? And now they really didn't have Hashem's wisdom, right, out to really be able to, they had made a boo-boo. They mixed themselves up. They said, well, we may know better than you, God. You told us not to eat from it. That doesn't mean anything, right? We're going to eat from it anyway. So remember, I told you they never really practiced this idea of accepting Hashem's will, right? So now they ate from it. They're all mixed up and their body is pulsating and they're having all these lustful ideas and they're so embarrassed because they understand now what Hashem was trying to tell them, right? So Hashem says to them, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you back your covet. I'm going to give you back your honor. So clothes are really to honor us as human beings and to tell us that we are more than a body, but there is something much deeper to us called the soul, right? Called the soul. So clothes are here to honor us, and clothes are, they bring us something very special, kedusha, right? So there actually is holy clothing, right? Which are real mitzvah clothing. So let's think of things that are clothing that are mitzvah. What's mitzvah clothing?
Tzitzit.
Yes. Okay.
Kippah?
It's you.
Talit, a kippah.
A kippah, all these wonderful ideas. Okay, so right. So what about for women? Like, I'm like, hey, what about me? Okay.
Shaitel.
Okay.
Shaitel, head coverings.
Tichels,
Wait,
Good for you. You know, we're gonna write Barb. Holy wear. Okay.
Bezos.
Okay, tickles. Okay, what else?
Hats.
Sneeze clothing, clothes
Sandy-
that are
Yeah.
Sandy
Sneeze
Klitschko.
clothing.
Okay, good. Sneeze clothing. So it's just something for us to think about. So, you know, that is not an easy mitzvah for a lot of people. And in the summer, it's probably an even harder mitzvah. But it's a mitzvah that everyone here should think about. And you know what, like, let's say, you know, we're thinking about it. Let's think about it in small pieces. I don't want to think about it in this, oh, what do you mean? What's the Rebbetzin saying? We're all gonna have to be like, you know, it's not a fair thing to do. Let's look at it as a small little thing, right? So let's maybe say on Shabbat, which is a very holy day, so it'll give us a little more of a umph to do it, right? Like, let's put ourselves into an environment where we could really make a change, right? Let's put ourselves there. So let's say on Shabbat, like, take on Shabbat, Friday night, I will try to wear something that is more tzniut. That's all. So if I, you know, wear no sleeves, I'll wear sleeves to here. Just on Shabbat. It's that I'm going to make Shabbat that much more holy. Why am I asking everyone to do this? Because I usually never ask anybody to do anything, which is not good. Okay, but why am I? Because we need Hashem with the Jewish people now. And the Shekhinah, it has a hard time resting among the Jewish people if there is no tzniut. Because if there isn't tzniut, then we really are sending a message to Hashem, I'm more body than I am soul. And so then God says, well, if you're more body, I don't do so well with that situation. Do you see what I'm saying? So right now, like, just for the sake of the world, you know what I mean? And the sake of all the help that we need from Hashem, let's just try a little bit. Everybody, even me, all of us have their area of tzniut that they aren't so tznius. So let's try, but I don't want to try silly things. Like, I don't want, you know, these big giant changes that, you know, everybody gets frustrated and angry with. But it would be good for each and every one of us. We are making a bracha. Thank you, Hashem, for clothes, because you are giving us honor and you're telling us you're not just an animal, okay? One thing animals don't have, except the Bernstein bears and fairy tales, they don't wear clothes, okay? Like, although there are people out there, right? I always tell you that story that I once bought a snowsuit for a baby for one of my Einekloch, and it was for a doggy, okay? I walked up with this snowsuit in Old Navy. I said, this is a great price. And she goes, why? Well, how's your dog? I said, my dog. It's just good for us to know. Okay. Anyway, so here I'm just telling them this, right? It's just something for us to think about. So it's just like a tiny little thing, because then we know when we're saying the bracha, we mean it, right? Okay. So what else is so beautiful about clothing? Like, think about all the kinds of clothing, like clothing that Hashem gave you, like, so you can enjoy a wedding, you know, you have a certain kind of clothing. And then Hashem gave us in the winter, like, all this nice, you know, warm clothing. Like, it's such a bracha when you think about it, right? And then all the colors and the materials and the textures, and like, there really is a lot when you think about it to be grateful for. I don't know about you, just if you have, because, you know, before COVID, I did that Marie Kondo thing and threw out tons of clothes. I don't have anything now. I've been waiting for the malls to open. I'm wearing the same 3 shirts, okay, right, for the last year and a half, okay, right? So it's like just the fact that we would have is such a beautiful bracha to be able to make. Now, what is very interesting in Judaism, there are 2 parts of the body that we never clothe. Okay, in Judaism, we do not clothe these 2 parts. Does anybody know what they are?
The hands, no?
Yes, excellent. And what else? Yeah.
The mouth.
Right, the face. Do you know that we do not clothe our hands and our face? Why is that? Like Hashem says, clothe, cover up other parts of the body, but never the hands and never the face. So what do you think that is? That's a real, the Muslims do, right? You ever see these people in the burqa, right? We don't do that.
It's a
right?
mitzvah to smile, and if you cover your face, you can't smile.
Oh, that's an interesting, okay, so it's a mitzvah to smile, you cover your face, you can smile. The
Because
Shem-
you could see the soul of a person through
Yeah.
their
Yes,
face,
your
the head,
body speaks a lot.
on the
Your
hands.
face, your
Jewish-
panim is a reflection of who you are. That's what it is. So those people like kind of walk around with this, there's like grumpy face. Okay, usually grumpy face. That emoji. Okay, so grumpy face means grumpy. Okay, happy face means happy. So really, it's a panim. It's a reflection of who you are. You can sometimes see the panemius. You could see who the person really is by their face. Right? So Hashem is saying, like, I created you beautiful individuals. No face is the same. I want everybody to show their face because I want you to realize that you can learn from every face. Every face has its uniqueness. And that's what Hashem wants to say to you. And what about hands? What do hands represent? This is why we do Al Netilas Yadayim, guys. In the morning, you wake up, you want to take off that brush of death and you wash your hands, because you want pure hands so that you will do
Mitzvahs.
pure actions. Chas v'chalila, right? Like we said, they did a survey. If you ask people if you chalila had to lose your legs or your hands, your feet or your hands, which one would you lose? People would say they would rather lose their feet. Your hands are like, oh my gosh, what they do for you, right? So it's an important message for us to understand, right? And now we have to think for a minute. So now I was thinking about when I was doing this, like I've done this many times, many years. I've never done it where I'm talking to a group of people who for 14 months really had to cover most of their face. Like it's an interesting idea, right? And now, like, I don't know about you guys, like it drives me crazy, the mask, because like it's very hot, you're outside. I keep running into the store. Like I went into the Home Depot. I forgot completely. Baruch Hashem, they had masks in the front. I totally forgot. It's like, and it's funny how like so many people are saying that they just want to rip it off, right? Because they just want to be the person they are. They just, you want your individual face, and I want your individual face. Like we feel like in a way now you can appreciate what the Torah is telling you more than you could have ever before. You know what I mean? Now that you spent all this time, right, with your face covered, so now you could really appreciate what it means. Okay. So different faces, different character traits, right? Your hands are unique. They reflect your different actions. Okay. So, all right. Okay. What else? We said about the holy clothing. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so now let's look at the one after that one. And this one, I think a lot of people, and again, Corona, it's a real Corona bracha. Like it's good because I think we're going to say the brachos with more kavana. So matir asurim. So what does matir asurim mean? It means who releases the bound. Okay, so we were very constricted, and now we feel so free. So where do you think this comes up? Like, where does this come up in your life? Think about it. Where you felt you were very tied down, you were chained, and then you see Baruch Hashem, Hashem releases you. So where do you think about it? I want to hear from you guys. Where you think in your life, where is it that you could be chained? Emotionally, spiritually, physically. Like there's so many ways.
Your potential.
What? Jody. Okay, perfect. You feel like your potential, like sometimes we all feel that way. Like, I could be doing more or I can't. I'm locked into this situation. I'm locked into that situation. I want to be this, I want to be that, and I don't see a way out. And right? The Corona, I think we all felt a lot of change. All the mothers, Nebuch, were very changed. Right? The kids weren't even in school. You guys were Nebuch chained. I really feel sorry. Like, can you imagine, like, right? Like now that like camp started, all the kids, every kid is like beyond. From all my grandkids, they're like, woo, like freedom, whatever. They won the lottery. Like they feel like it's amazing just to be able to run outside. Right. And then sometimes like some people, you can have like an emotional hard time that you went through. Right. And now you're free. Right. You're able to raise yourself above it. So here being chained is a very interesting concept. It's the fact that you can get out of bed. So it's sometimes something that we take a lot for granted, right? So people who are nebuch in hospitals, like what would they do just to be able to get out of bed? So now comes a very interesting question. Look at the Torah, like it just blows my mind. Let's say you say this thing, thank you Hashem, shepokeach ivrim, you open the eyes and I have sight. What about if somebody is blind? Do they still make that bracha? Isn't that a question? The answer is yes.
I think yes, yeah.
It's yes. You know why? Because you're saying it for the group. So nebuch, the person, he may be blind, but he says, you know what, Hashem, I'm glad there are other people out there who do have sight. Imagine being this kind of person. Like, it so teaches us this concept of positioned. Positioned is each and every one of us in our unique journey. Do you know what I mean? And everyone has their position. I'm never going to be jealous of your position. You don't have to be jealous of my position. I have to learn to be happy for your position. You have to learn to be happy for mine. And that's this is the Brochos are trying to teach you this, a big lesson. To me, it's huge. Okay, so this idea of being able to get out of bed, like if you've ever, like they sometimes will torture people. So a form of torture is to make you do a squat, okay, that you can't get up out of. You have to hold like bricks in your hands and you have to squat and they won't let you get up. So hours and hours and hours can go by. And then when they remove the bricks and they ask you to get up, what does it feel like?
Like you're stuck.
Like you're stuck. So really, I know this sounds crazy, but it's a bracha that we can get out of bed. Because you've been for 10 hours, your body's probably been in one position. It's almost like a miracle. So every time that we're able to get up out of bed after 8 hours of being in one position, it's something that you have to make a bracha for, okay? Because it's a recognition of the greatness of Hashem and the gift that he gave you to be able to get up, okay? So being released out of bondage, physically released, right? That you're able to get up in the morning, emotionally released, right? A new day. How many times like people just say, yeah, I can't do it anymore. I've got to go to sleep and I'm davening for my new day tomorrow. Tomorrow is my new day. Tomorrow it starts again. Tomorrow, where's that? It's that song, right?
Tomorrow.
Is that from Annie? Okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. Okay, so right. So that's the idea, right? So pokeach ivrim. All right. I mean not pokeach ivrim. Sorry, matir asuri. So I think that that's also a very beautiful idea. Okay. Okay. Now, so what's the other one? So we're released now. So kaif kifufim. Okay, so that means we aren't hunched over, that we can stand straight. Now you have to stop and you have to think about that because no other creature does that, okay? No other creature is able to really straighten the bend. Okay, so even the kangaroo is a little, you know what I mean? Okay, we are standing straight. So why do we stand straight and animals are usually on all fours? So what's the difference?
So maybe our head is more up with Hashem.
Yes. Okay. So that's exactly what we are. We're connected to the ground, but our head is in the clouds. Okay. So we have to realize and appreciate that we are, of all the beings, believe it or not, although there are people out there who will tell you animals and people are equal, it is not the case. Animals are very wonderful and very special, but the hierarchy of creation, man is above animals. Okay. And man is able to speak. Right? Like animals cannot really communicate the way people can, right? And many other things that we can do. So we are above the animal kingdom. So there is this idea of standing straight, right? The fact that you can be poised and you can stand straight and you have a mobility and you could move forward and you could look eye to people. Do you know what I mean? It's really an incredible reality, a very big bracha. So it's interesting. Rav Moshe Feinstein, he was taken to Siberia. He was forced to stand at attention for hours. From that, he said, I will never sit during davening again. If I could stand for the Russians, I could stand for Hashem. It's really something to think about. Okay. Now, if you look at this order of brachas, it seems a little funny because first we thanked Hashem for clothes, right? Then we thanked Hashem, we're able to move around. Then we thanked Hashem that we're able to stand up straight, okay? So some people, right, would say that seems a little different, like seems a little weird. Like first we should have thanked Hashem for getting out of bed, then we should have thanked Hashem for putting on our clothes. Like it just seems like the order is a little bit out. So it's an interesting idea. So there is a concept. I'm not going to say that we are at this concept, even though I know a lot of people who are. Okay, so I know a lot of people who are. There is this concept that you are always before the king. Like, there's always that dalif ne miatam made. You should always know whom before you stand, right? So this idea of like standing up, who am I standing before? Whose like eyes are on me? Who's with me all the time? This concept of Hashem. So there is a concept of people will get dressed under their covers. Do you know that? Like they'll wash Nagel Wasser literally next to their bed. Everybody knows what Nagel Wasser is. Yeah, there's once on the right and once on the left. Okay, so when you wash your hands in the morning, right, to remove any of the remnants of the spiritual energy of death, right, that you went through when you were 1/60th dead as you slept. Okay, so people do it right next to their bed, and there are people who have their clothes ready right there. They just lean in and they'll get dressed almost like who went to sleepover camp. Okay, when you went to sleepover camp, let's be real. There were tons of people who dressed under the covers, right? Does anybody remember that? I remember that. We were so embarrassed. They're all dressing under the covers. Okay, so this idea, why would you dress under the covers? You're going to be standing in front of the king. All right, so some people are like, there's like this extra awe, okay? So that's why the order seems out of order. But there is even tznius in private realities, right? Even though it's almost gone. Like, okay, so do not think I'm a not nice person, but really the Torah would tell you it is not good to bring your cell phone into the bathroom, all right? So I know people will do that, and the Torah tells you really no. This is like, it's a certain time to be doing certain things. It shouldn't be that you're doing those things and talking to somebody at the same time on your cell phone. It's mias. Mias is like, it's not nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a nice thing. You know what I'm saying? Don't bring your friends into the bathroom with you, because if they were really knowing you were there, it would be extremely inappropriate, right? So the Torah tells you it's not the place to be doing those kinds of things. So as I'm saying, it's like a certain kind of tznius, the way we comport ourselves in general. So really it's interesting. Like I'll tell you, like in the Torah's view, if you're in a public place, when you're in a public place and you're driving your car and there's a car next to you and the windows are down and the car's going boom, 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 boom. You ever have that? Okay, right? And your car is shaking and the music is blaring. The Torah would tell you that that's not a tznius thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, don't disturb other people, right? Like, is everybody getting what I'm saying? Yes. Like, it's not nice. The same thing, like, you're outside and somebody's yelling, where are you, Tommy? They're like screaming and you're like, these kinds of things the Torah tells you. It's like, right? Remember where you are. Remember who you are. Remember what you represent. So it's just this idea. So this idea of an extra cautiousness when it comes to tzniut. And that's why you see, who were people like this? Great, great rabbis. The Baba Sali, they will tell you, his tznius was incredible. Okay. Did anybody ever see the way he dressed? Did anybody ever remember? Like it was all in white, pure white. It was more like a gown, right? And then I think like some kinds of pants underneath it. But they said he was one of the most tznius people that ever lived. You know what I mean? Always had his eyes down, wasn't looking at things that weren't appropriate. Just a very beautiful idea, Okay. So now this one is very important. So it says, Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you, God. Rokeya haaretz al hamayim. What does that mean? Does anybody know what that means? He spreads out the earth upon the waters. So if you really, really would stop and think about it, like chas v'shalom, the tsunami, right? Or what about those times, when ice, when we had those ice storms a couple years ago, you couldn't go out the door. I mean, you go sliding and really, you could really hurt yourself. So we really are technically blessing Hashem, because the earth and our bodies, most of the world is made out of water. It's really a nace that it all doesn't sink. It's really a nace. When you're at the ocean, doesn't it blow your mind? Like, when the tide is really high, right? And it's coming in and you're wondering, like, I don't get it. Like, what's holding the ocean back? Like, whenever you stop and you think about it, it's crazy. And then you walk on the beach and it's like low tide, and then it's when the tide is down and you see like, oh, it only reached this far and this far and this far. What's stopping it is that Hashem is putting the sand, all those little grains of sand. And it's very funny because the Jewish people are compared to those grains of sand. And our job is to stop that roaring ocean from destroying the world. All the evil and the garbage and everything that can just turn our heads in circles. That's our job, right? And it's one little grain of sand. Each one of us is one little grain of sand. You put it together and it can stop an ocean. It's unbelievable when you think about it, okay? So this is a very beautiful idea. So it says like this, there's so many things that Hashem is doing, like even just the earth, the gravity, it never falls down. It's like all of this stuff that's happening. So the rabbis ask, how is this all being suspended? What is keeping all this roar of the ocean or the earth from falling or whatever it is? What is it that's really suspending the world? That's a very beautiful idea. As the rabbis say, it's the people who look for peace. That's an interesting idea. What really is holding up this world, making sure that everything doesn't collapse? That's a big word now, okay? Is the people who are willing to give for peace. Give of what? Give of themselves for peace, right? They're willing to be mevater, willing to for the sake of peace, I'm not going to scream, back at you. For the sake of peace, you know what I mean? I'm not going to take revenge. For the sake of peace, let's invite Uncle Shlomi to the bar mitzvah. Okay, so he said something insulting, big deal. Let's invite him for the sake of peace. So the Torah tells you when you do these things for the sake of peace, you are holding the world up. These are all very important things for us to understand right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're in a time in history that we got to put our skin in the game, because if we're not going to put our skin in the game, there isn't that many people who will, just because they're ignorant. They don't even know to put their skin in the game. They haven't even connected that these things are happening because there is a God sending a message. Okay, they're like, it's a coincidence, this one died, that one died. Okay, people die all the time. It's a coincidence, So there was a pandemic, so there's a inflation, so a lot of people are going bankrupt and crime is rising. It's a coincidence, okay? So all these people, so there's not that many people are recognizing it's not a coincidence. So that means we have to put the skin in the game. So we are positioned. So part of our positioning is to say, you know what, Hashem, thank you so much for not letting the whole water overflow and destroy the world. So you know what, I'm going to have to put my skin in the game, because as far as I understand, the merit of that comes from peace. So every one of us, how that's huge. So how many times, right, we're like you really want let your husband have it, okay? And you're gonna go, okay, dear, I'll wait till you calm down before we finish the discussion. You are holding up the room, okay? Or your kid says something like super chutzpahdik, or your friend said something really hurtful, and you look at your friend going, what is with that person, okay? And you hold back. I'm not saying you're gonna be a shmata, you'll discuss it later when everything is calm, but you know what I'm trying to say? But you're holding it back. So you're like, what am I, a sucker? No, you're not a sucker. You're really a hero, okay? Who is helping this world. And I think that's a very important idea here. So now comes the one mitzvah here, the one bracha that is said in singular. Okay, now when I read it to you, I want you to answer the question, why is this the only one that said singular and everything else is said plural, right? So the other one is like, blessed you Hashem, that, you do the what's it called? You let the bent straighten up, that you clothe the naked. And now I'm saying, Sha'asani li kol tzorki. Blessed are you, Hashem. Sha'asani li kol tzorki. What does that mean? You provided me my every need. Wow. You provided me my every need. Why am I saying that singularly instead of saying you provide us our every need? Okay,
Because everybody has a different need, and Hashem gives everyone in divine providence exactly what they need for themselves.
right. And I can't make that general statement. I'm not here to make a bracha to say all of your needs are taken care of.
Yeah.
That would be quite arrogant and could be quite hurtful, right? Like that's kind of hurtful. But I can say for myself, right? It's never my mitzvah to turn to you and go, you know what? Hashem does enough for you. Stop complaining. Okay. You know, that's, okay, that's not my place, right? Because I don't know that's the hardest part about being human. I think this is the hardest, if I have to say what's the hardest part, that's really, really hard to be able to really understand another person and how much we say, they're such a baby. Can't they do it by themselves? Why can't they, they're so down. Like you don't know what's going on in someone else's kishkas, you know, and in someone else's heart. And in some, you know, sometimes like, you know, we can be jealous of other people, you know, because from the outside, it looks so good. But if you were in their head for 5 minutes, you'd be, let me out of here. You know, like I'm really being real. Okay. So that's why here, this Shasani, like Shasali Kol Tzorki, you provided for me what I need. My mitzvah is not to look at everybody else and say they have what they need. I don't know that. And in fact, they could be suffering, and my mitzvah is to help them. Not to go, well, you know, I guess you needed poverty, so, you know, so don't look at me, you know, go to God, okay, you know, right? That's not my reality, okay? So what would it mean to you that you say that I have what I need and I need what I have? That's what Shasani Li Kol Tzorki means. So what does that mean? I have what I need and I need what I have.
You've given me what I need, and I have it, and I'm able to continue on what I am supposed to be doing as a result of what you've given me.
Okay. So I
appreciate God, what He's given us.
Yeah, so appreciate what God has given you, and sometimes the good, the bad, and the ugly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like this very, you know, yeah, this like, you know, billionaire in the house with the gorgeous pool, and I have what I need, and I need. Okay, what about these people who are like really in big trouble, right? I have what I need and I need what I have. You know, and does that mean I can't ask for more? You can always ask for more. Okay, you can always ask for more. You say, listen, Hashem, you know, I'm human and I have children. I would like to be the one who pays full tuition. I don't want to be the one who has to always go in front of the people. I think it would be such a bracha if I could pay full tuition. That would be a real bracha. Okay, you know, do you know what I'm saying? Like I'd love to be able to do that. And Hashem, my car broke down. It'd be so nice for me to have a car that doesn't break down. I could, in the morning, take my children to school. I could do carpool. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want everyone to think, oh, okay, what I need, I never have to ask. Not true. Tefillah is definitely to ask. And we are human beings. We have a lot of needs. But Shasali Kol Tzorki, wait till I tell you what it means. It means you give me shoes. The Medrash says, if you don't have shoes, you got to borrow money to get money to buy shoes. So when we're talking about it, we're talking about something very specific, shoes. Now think about shoes. Why are shoes so important?
They only fit your feet.
Say that again. Wait, who was it?
They only fit your feet.
Okay. So what does that mean? And what do you need them for? Karen, what do you need shoes for?
You need them to move forward.
So
but specifically they're for you.
Yes. Okay. So very, very important, right? How important is it? Like you can, like people don't like to take people's shoes, you know, like people will pass down clothes, but like, you know, what sometimes people throw in the bag, their kids' shoes. And why will you not want to take their kids' shoes?
Because you don't want to have all their, what they had, all that sorrows.
All right, yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah.
There's something more.
Each person has their own very individual footprint.
Yeah. You have a very, like, if you ever look at people when they give you your shoes, if you look at them, you'll see like the heel is worn down. Like, I know, I don't know what it is, pronate or supinate, like, but my heel gets worn down on one side much more than on the other side. Do you know what I mean? So if I have to give you those shoes, the imprint is already made. They're not going to be able to be your shoes. They're not going to fit you specifically. The concept of journeying in Judaism is huge. You know, like whenever your Jewish journey, you know, that's like, but it's a real cliche out there, but it's a real reality. So when Hashem tests Abraham, he says, Lech Lecha. Okay, so this is very important for us to know. We never stop journeying in life. That's why we're tired, but tired is good. You know, like when you go, oh, I had a really full day. I'm so tired. What does that really mean? I did so much. I accomplished. I used my potential, right? Sometimes people get tired from sitting around. You know, like sometimes like when you have nothing to do, I actually find myself much more low energy and I'll sit on the couch and suddenly I'm sleeping. That's not the kind of tired that I want to be. I want to be tired that I'm tired because I put in a real full day and I put in a lot of accomplishment. So when you're saying Shasani Kirtano, you're saying Hashem, you gave me exactly the right pair of shoes that fit me exactly the way Karen said it for my personal journey in life. No one else will walk the path that I walk. There will be 7 billion people on this planet, but nobody has the same footprint. Okay, so that's huge. And when you say, Shasani, that you gave me everything I need, that means some of us had great parents and some of us didn't. And some of us had an easier life and some of us didn't, right? But each and every one of our lives was exactly what we needed to be able to make that specific imprint that we were created for. Okay, so, you know, which is really a very beautiful bracha. And I really love that it is in singular because it really is a specific thank you to Hashem, right? That you knew my shoe size. And shoes also, which are really beautiful, like the clothes, are made for all occasions. Sometimes Hashem has to give you running shoes. Sometimes he gives you party shoes. Sometimes he gives you hiking boots. Okay. Sometimes, if you think about all the kind of shoes that you needed through your lifetime, right? Baruch Hashem, okay, that you gave me the right shoes, right? That I needed so I could make that very specific personal journey under those very specific personal times. And you know what's very funny about shoes? Sometimes they hurt. Sometimes they give you blisters. Sometimes they give you a corn. And sometimes what do you have to do with shoes? You got to wear them in. You got to break them in, and then they finally get comfortable. And that's a lot of times our lives. You get a new circumstance, new pair of shoes. It's really, really, really hard to wear. And they're really hurting. And the only way you're going to get them to feel good is if you keep wearing them, right? And then you finally break them in and you're like, wow, these are really comfortable. I got it. I can walk this path. I can do this. It's like really a lot of very, very beautiful ideas. Okay, so another thing with shoes. So I'm going to tell you this, like, who's a barefoot kind of person here? Me too. Like, I don't know. So I'm going to tell you, it's very interesting. Okay, I'm going to say in the very Haredi world, they don't like to walk barefoot. Okay, so I was training some girls, and it's bar class. Bar is definitely bare feet. Yoga is bare feet. Like, there's a couple of things that we do in bare feet, and they wouldn't do it. It threw them. Like, they were like, I never walk bare feet. I've never done this before. And I was like, laughing, because inside me, I love being bare feet. You know what I mean? So I said, okay, so just take your shoes off. You'll just wear your socks. Okay, we'll do sock feet until you get used to bare feet. But it's just very interesting. So it's just, I find the whole thing very interesting. Because if you look in the Torah, let's look at the Torah for a minute, just discuss bare feet. Okay, all right. So the Torah says that man was called Adam. Does anybody know why he's called Adam? Anybody know why? Why was man called Adam?
I think he was from the ground.
Yeah, boy, Amita, I love that girl. Okay. So it's Adama, okay, Adama, which is a very interesting word because it really is either he is Adama compared to the ground, like he's from the ground. If you're from the ground, you're very earthly, you're very physical, okay, or you're Domeh to Hashem, okay? So Adama has the word Domeh to Hashem in it, or earthly, okay? So sometimes they say that we wear shoes as human beings because not like the animal that's touching the ground and he's a very earthly being. We have shoes to sort of separate us from the fact that we are touching, right? Like we're not touching the ground, we're above the ground. Okay, so there's that concept. Then there are times that you'll see in the Torah where people were specifically barefoot. So who was barefoot? In the Beis HaMikdash, it's interesting, they were barefoot. And you see when when Moshe is in the desert and he sees the burning bush, what does Hashem say to him?
To remove his shoes.
Remove his shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just like an interesting idea. So I guess when the ground is really holy, you remove your shoes. When Hashem said to Moshe, take off your shoes, he said, take off your bad habits. Like, take off what you think is, you regularly do all the time, take it off. Okay, you're starting on something new, right? We're going to have a whole new adventure here in life. So it's just very interesting, this concept of barefoot versus shoes. Okay, so I'm just wanted to let you know about it because I found it, I was really fascinated by the fact that these girls had said they had never walked in bare feet. Okay, it's just an interesting idea. But sometimes, right, bare feet, when you're on like very nice grass and it feels good, you feel rooted and grounded. Like you can just see, I guess everything has its place. That's what I guess the bottom line of what you're learning is everything has its place. Okay. Now, when a person gets new clothes, there's a bracha that you make, okay? You give them like a little blessing, okay? So a lot of them, tischadesh, which is like, you should get it anew. You should get new. Okay, like, oh, you got something new. Really, it's a bigger bracha. It's really, you should wear it out and then you should get something new. Okay, it's a very interesting idea. Okay, so what does that mean? That you should wear it out and then you should get something new. So it's not like, we're trying to build the retail industry, even though it could really use help right now. Okay. We should tell them about this. Okay, everybody walk out. We give you a bracha. You should wear that and then get something new. Okay, so what does it really mean? It means you should have many times of simcha. You should wear it out because you should be wearing it at all these beautiful, joyful times, right? And then you should be able to buy something new. So a lot of times people, I'm going to end with this. A lot of times when people go shopping for shoes and for clothes, they're looking for designer labels. We're all looking for the designer labels, like I once got these shoes. I didn't even know they were like such chashuva shoes. I forgot what they were. Like it's a very fancy Italian brand, but I only got them because I got them for $30 because one was a size 6 and the other one was a size 6.5. No, it was a 7. One was a 6 and one was a 7. They mixed it up. Like sometimes they mix it up in the box. So I got this, I think they were like $800 pair of shoes. I had no idea. And they were $30. Okay. So I didn't know anything. And I'm wearing them. People kept going, I love your shoes. I was like, why? I think they were very gamma. I forgot who they were. Like some kind of schmancy guy. Okay. So I didn't understand what was going on. To me, it was just a 6 and a 7. I got it for $30. Great. You know what I mean? So I just want you to know, we're very worried about wanting to wear designer labels, but I just want you to know you are a designer label. That's the truth. Okay, so you're designed by Hashem, you're his favorite label. He didn't even make, when they say like, what's the most expensive items? When it's unique. That's when it's worth millions, right? The original Mickey Mouse watch, the original Barbie, we got it for $5. Now it's worth $1 million because it's unique. So guess what? You are a designer label. You are unique. You make your shoes special and you make your clothes gorgeous. not the other way around. So it's just something nice for us to remember when we're making these brachas. Okay, so I think it's Tehillim time, right, Sandy? It's Tehillim time? Yeah, okay, so we're gonna say,
It's Tehillim time, Gail.
okay, so wait, let me just stop the recording.